on Verbal Pick Radio, where we give you a verbal image of life, and we are everyday people. I'd like to welcome you all to the show. This show is dedicated to a question asked by Hilda Swafford. They commented, why did they name Jamestown after King James if they were fleeing their king, and Virginia after his queen, right? And okay, so we're gonna get into that, but we can only do it the Verbal Pick Radio way. So bear with us as we bark on this new exploration. So we want to get it going right about now, right? Because the Puritans are tied into King James, and I'll get more in detail in that, but let me give you just a brief synopsis, right? Okay, the Puritans wanted to flee. King James wanted to leave because he had attempts on his life. He didn't like the William Tinsdale version of the Bible. So he wanted, and he didn't like parts of the Bible where it was saying that somewhere in Matthew, where we'll get that to you all, the exact verse in the Bible. But he didn't like the part where in Matthew it stated that Jesus was building the rock upon Peter. He wanted to change that into the church. And also, it was a part where it was stating that the kings were tyrannical, and he didn't like that, and he wanted that out of the Bible. So he was protesting certain things in the Bible. The Puritans was protesting. They made good bedfellows, so they left and came to Virginia. But Virginia, King James was forming the Virginia Company for economic gain, and we'll get into that right now. Okay, now it states that the Puritans left England primarily due to religious persecution, but also for economic reasons as well. Now, the non-separatist Puritans who wanted to remain there wanted to remain in the church and reform it from within. The separatist Puritans felt the church was too corrupt to reform and instead wanted to separate from it. So the Puritans were saying, look, man, this church is corrupt. We want to follow the scripture by the letter of the law. So we're leaving England for that, right? Now, we're going to continue to give you a little bit more. Now, look, we're going to give you a background on King James so you all can understand what we're talking about, right? So bear with us for a moment because we got to lay the base, right? Now, King James was born in 1566, the son of Mary, Queen of Scots, and Lord Darnley. He was King of Scotland as James VI for 36 years before becoming King of England in 1603 and the first in the British royal line of the Stuarts. That's why you got King James I, because he was the first a royal bloodline of the Stuarts. James considered his rule to be by the divine right of kings, under which he was considered appointed by God and not answerable to men. Right? That's the mindset, right? But before we go, I want to say this too, though. When you look at that picture, that's the original picture of King James. And it's been said that King James was a mulatto. I can't back that up, but we will include this as part of Black history. I'll continue. But all members of Parliament did not accept this belief. By governing for much of the time without Parliament, relying instead on a select group of favorites for advice, he diluted the legacy of strong representative government established by Elizabeth I, right? There were multiple conspiracies and efforts to depose James during the early years of his reign in England, and in 1605, the Gunpowder Plot was an alleged attempt by Guy Fawkes and other English Catholics to destroy both king and parliament. See, King James wasn't favored in England. They didn't like him. So he had a reason to want to separate. We continue, though. He signed the first of 3 charters in 1606, granting the Virginia Company, right? The Virginia Company, the right to control an area extending 50 miles north, 50 miles south, and 100 miles west, of the settlement on the east coast of America. The second charter in 1609 granted the Virginia Company an able and absolute governor and extended the boundaries of Virginia from those set in the 1606 charter. So what he's doing now, he's extending governors, which will be, you can call a manager, supervisor over the Virginia Company in what they call the land of Virginia. Okay. In 1612, which in the Bible was released in 1611, but in his version, the KJV, but when you Tyndale's was 1524, I believe, or 1527. That was prior to King James Version. But in 1612, a third charter incorporated Bermuda and established lotteries for the purpose of raising funds. A new set of instructions was written by officials of the Virginia Company in 1618, commonly called the Great Charter. These instructions created a council of state whose members were chosen by the Virginia Company, not the people. They were chosen by the Virginia Company to assist the governor in his duties, and a general assembly that included the council and 2 burgesses from every town, 100 and particular plantations, right? And 2 burgesses from every town, 100 and particular plantations, chosen by the free inhabitants. Thus began the first representative government in the European colonies. So a company, the Virginia Company, was the first governing body of America, the new America, under the British rule, of course, because this was before the War of Independence. Let's continue, right? We're gonna continue. You know, it's a lot, but I have to go through all of this to answer Haida's question, right? To show that they had attempts on King James' life, and so he, like the Puritans, wanted to separate and create something new in a new world, and named it the Virginia Company for economic gains as well. But we'll continue, though. All right. The King James Version of the Bible is also called the Authorized Version because the translation was authorized by King James I of England. The preface of the King James Version dedicates the work to the Most High and Mighty Prince James by the grace of God. Let me read that again. The Most High and Mighty Prince James. So that's why a lot of people was upset with King James back in England, because he wanted to be exalted. Although his views were different from the Puritan views, but they found a way to cooperate. Let's put it like that. Okay. To the Most High and Mighty Prince James, by the grace of God, King of Great Britain, France, and Ireland, defender of the faith. Prior to ruling England, James was King James VI of Scotland. It was not until 1603, upon the death of Queen Elizabeth I, that the kingdoms of Scotland and England were united, and James became James I of England, the first of the Stuart line. I got James I. Now, Mary, Queen of Scots, gave birth to her son James in 1566 in Scotland. In June 1566, the Protestant lords rebelled against their queen. They arrested and imprisoned Mary in Lochleven Castle, right? Now, this is King James' mother, right? They arrested her and imprisoned Mary in Lochleven Castle, where she was forced to abdicate the throne of Scotland. Abdicate the throne of Scotland, where she was forced to give it up. James was thus only a year old when he became James VI, King of Scotland, in 1567. In spite of his mother's Catholic faith, James was brought up in the Protestant religion. He was educated by men who had empathy for the Presbyterian Church. King Henry IV of France called James the wisest fool in Christendom, right? He was already what type of figure could we say? He was already coming up as a odd fellow. Let's say that. As an odd fellow. We'll say that. Okay. Although intelligent and well educated, James, now this is King James, was unpopular, and he made many enemies. Another reason why he had to flee to the Americas. He made many enemies, especially in Parliament. James was seen as uncouth, and there is evidence that he was bisexual. He often wrote against the power of the Pope and against Catholicism, meddling in affairs of state. Okay, that's why Catholics have his own Bible. We can go on, but that's another topic because I want to get it. That's another topic. I don't want to take too much time to get in on that, but we'll go on. Okay, right, okay. In his opposition to the Pope's power, James promoted the divine right of kings. The idea that kings are accountable to God and no one else. And that's where Trump gets his attitude from, because he's taking it saying that he is the true ruler under this new form of Christendom that was eradicated, or no, that was upheld by the first Virginia Company of King James. That's why a businessman, Donald Trump, and some would say dictator, it fits the bill. It fits the script. You get what I'm saying? Okay, we're going to keep on rolling, right? James promoted the divine right of kings, the idea that kings are accountable to God and no one else. In 1605, a group of Catholics attempted to assassinate James and his wife and son and to blow up Parliament. However, the gunpowder plot was foiled. That incident is remembered today as Guy Fawkes Day. So you look up Guy, G-U-Y, Fawkes, F-A-W-K-E-S, Day. D-A-Y was the day that the Catholics tried to kill King James for they view his tyrannical representation or beliefs. They wanted to wipe him out. So there's another reason why he wanted to get the hell out of there. Okay. James had his success too. He approved the design for the flag of Great Britain. He was a patron of the arts. And William Shakespeare, now let me add this to that too as well. William Shakespeare also had allegedly, I'm still looking for proof for that, but allegedly was one of the ones who wrote the King James Bible. But we'll continue. He was a patron of the arts, and William Shakespeare was a sponsored playwright. Macbeth was written in James' honor. Trade with India was expanded during James' reign, and in 1607, England's first permanent colony in the New World was established in Virginia, right? A colony named Jamestown in the king's honor. But actually it was the Virginia Company first, right? James was married to Anne of Denmark, and their son Charles later ruled England as King Charles I. James died in 1625 and was buried in Westminster Abbey. The creation of the Bible, King James Version of the Bible, the Scottish Reformation was completed before the English Reformation. The Puritans and Scottish Presbyterians wanted a new Bible that would get as far away as possible from the structure of the Bishop's Bible of the Anglican Church. And the ideal of a new translation of the Bible was first proposed at a religious conference in Aberdore, Fife, F-I-F-E, French. King James was in favor of a new translation. He didn't care for the Tyndale translation of Matthew 16:18, which said Christ would build his congregation on Peter. James preferred to say on the church, not Peter. James wanted it on the church because the money that was collected from the church could go on up to him. Y'all know how the gates going that way to this day, but I'm not saying anything new. Okay, right. Okay. The only other alternative at the time was the 1560 Geneva Bible, but King James objected to a translation annotation on Matthew the 2:20 that suggested that kings are tyrants. He didn't want that in the book too. So King James, they got to go. Now look, in 1604, King James convened the Hampton Court Conference and authorized the start of a new translation of the Bible into English, right? Because the first Greek, then Latin, right? And see, they was upset with William Tyndale because he was the first to translate it from Latin to English. As a matter of fact, they burned him at the stake. Yeah, they killed him. It was said he was burned at the stake for that translation. Why? Because the Bible wasn't supposed to be written for laymen, for regular folks. The Bible was only supposed to be written for noblemen and kings and upper citizens. And Brother Farrakhan talked about this too, as a matter of fact, as I can recall. And what happened was the common folk, the laymen, they wanted to look into the book too. So they hired people to write it in such a way that only if you were a part of a secret order, sect, Masonic order, whatever, you would understand the intricate meanings of the Bible. But if you were just reading it and you weren't part of these organizations, you really wouldn't know what it was saying. And it wouldn't have no effect on you or in your life, right? That was the game that they were playing. But we'll continue. In 1604, King James convened the Hampton Court Conference and authorized the start of a new translation of the Bible into English. The objective was to have one standard version of the Bible to be used across all English-speaking parishes. The task of translation was undertaken by 47 scholars, taken from a cross-section of Jacobean England. Many of them were highly skilled in ancient languages. The King James authorized version of the Bible was finished in 1611, just 85 years after the first translation of the New Testament in English appeared. Tyndale, 1526. Yeah, so Hilda. So they left in protest. The Protestants, King James, they wanted to create a new mindset in protest with the old way of England, right? Because it was all about religion, religious beliefs. Even though, and as you heard in my previous broadcast dealing with the Muslims that was already here, that was establishing Islam. Then here you come with the Protestants and the new translations that was authorized by King James because he wanted to make money, establishing the Virginia Company, naming it after himself, to create a new way of thinking, a new religion, and making money. And then they was separating from England to be its own independent nation. That was already in the subconscious or in the mind of the King James from day one, right? And he carried it out, but the problem is in which the way it was carried out, because the foundation was built on slavery, it was built on murder, it was built on thievery, bribery, and corruption, and that's why we still trying to iron everything out today. So there you go. Now, part 2 of this, in which I didn't include in the title because I just wanted to answer Miss Hilda's comment, and that's HILDA. I want to answer her comment. But part 2 of this is dealing with Joe Biden, President Trump, and Bernie Sanders. Right. There was a young man, it was either today or yesterday, or no later than 3 days ago, that was in New York. He was at the park. He left the park and he was just walking. An officer came and stopped him. He said, why are you stopping me? Right. Now the officer walking, he was walking. This was he didn't do that from his vehicle. The officer put his hand on the young brother's chest, right? Now, when he did that, the young brother asked him, why are you stopping me, or are you arresting me, or what did I do wrong, right? And hold on. Now, this came from, and I got this off the African Diaspora News. Good show. Now I prop up this show, but I wanna play this though. Y'all just bear with me. I'm trying to get it to play for you guys. Okay, here we go. Listen to this.
What crime did I commit? You're supposed to do that. That's the law.
What crime did I commit? The audio may be a little blurred, but
I did not commit a crime. I did not commit a crime. I did not commit a crime.
now you got officers running. Man, they punching him. He trying to. The young man is trying to tell him to come down. That's him hollering. They beating him.
Well, he wasn't even resisting any shit.
And that's the young lady that's filming it, that's replying to the officers.
Just so you see what when you guys are. Another dance. Oh my God, look at this one. Why would they do that? I never want to do that. I never want to stop it today.
They beating his ass without an explanation.
Just so you see what when you guys are. Another dance. Oh my God, look at this one. Why would they do that? I never want to do that. I never want to stop it today.
He's saying, help me. He crying for the guard.
Yo, what's it? Yo, give me a chance to roll the fuck over, yo.
Nobody knows that's so nice. Look who's on now. What is he doing?
Tell my mom.
Oh my God.
Lord Jesus.
He said, call his mom, call his priest, said, my Jesus. He's scared.
Why you gotta stomp him like that? You know,
An eyewitness like, why y'all gotta stomp him like that?
Man, it took Eddie y'all to just roll him on his stomach. That's wicked, bro.
Grown man, he crying.
look again. And let me tell you, most of them is black. Most of them is black. If you see what they do to guys.
Oh my God.
You need to get the guy's families.
And she said most of them, the first officer that stopped him, like he could be white, Hispanic. The ones that came to the scene on the call, she said most of them was black. And they beat his ass for no reason. Because the dude kept asking him, well, why you stopping me? Can I go home? What's the problem? And they came and beat his ass.
I know that video.
I mean, was ridiculous. Now, excuse my French, right? And I'm not going to say it. I'm trying to keep my cool. When I see incidents like this, when a human being, a citizen, a person states and asks an officer, why are you stopping me? And he's not telling him anything. He said, I didn't commit a crime. I did nothing wrong. What's the problem? Right? That's when it gets scary. Then the other officers, now the guy had his hands up. He wasn't being a threat. He's just asking questions. When the bag up arrived, they didn't even inquire what's going on. They didn't ask they didn't have somebody on guard of the quote unquote suspect and pull that arresting officer to the side and say, what's the situation? What's going on? Why are you stopping? And no, they just came in and started beating his ass. Just like that. They beat him so bad, the dude was so scared, he was calling Jesus Christ. He called his mama. He called his priest. He was yelling, somebody please help me. I mean, he was afraid. He started crying, And it's like, wow, damn, just like that, Now, this is what I'm saying too. Joe Biden, President Trump, Bernie Sanders. Not so much Donald Trump, because he'll get that rural white vote, that electoral college, and that might can get him in. But for Sanders and Joe Biden, who needs the black vote, black people, don't give them a damn thing. Don't just throw away your vote. This is a situation now. If you could turn something bad into good, this situation is a good situation in a sense to where it's in the forefront, it's fresh. Now, this could be a talking point for the those who seeking to become the next president, right? How will they handle this issue of police brutality amongst unarmed blacks with this stop and frisk policy that's in play in New York, but they do it all over America? Don't just throw away your vote to Biden just because he was the vice president of Obama and he promised the Christian pastor something. I don't know. But you put an agenda before him and you make him answer how will he stop it before he get an other black vote, because he can't get in without the black vote. And Sanders can't get in without black votes. Y'all talking about voting. Now, what are y'all doing? What are y'all bringing that to task, or do y'all just want to put him in because you think he would be better than Trump? Ask Trump, what is he going to do about it? Then if Trump, look, I don't care. Trump, if you come up with a plan and an agenda to stop that police brutality that's going on in the department against blacks, you'll get some black votes. Biden, if you come down hard and say, no, never again. And if black people say, look, we're not giving our vote to nobody until they address this issue, then we're going to ride with you. And then we're going to hold you to that, because this is fresh. This is happening while they campaigning. This needs to be brought to the forefront. You can watch the whole ordeal on the African Diaspora News Channel. And he posted that today. As a matter of fact, shout out to Willie D. H-Town, man. Willie D doing a good job. Willie D doing what he do, man. That's what's up. But put that agenda to the forefront and make them earn your black vote. Stop throwing away your black. It's like the black vote is almost like the black dollar, right? White folks gonna get the vote regardless, and white folks gonna give black folk money regardless. You can win a lotto and you're gonna turn around and get right back to white folk. Voting season comes up, you gonna vote and just gonna give it to them. They don't even have to. They don't even talk. They don't even have to talk to you what's in your best interest. And what's in black folks' best interest is this ongoing police brutality, which is affecting the lives of children. Mothers are losing their sons, fathers losing their sons. We have to get this special kind of silly ass talk to our sons on what to do when these police officers pull you over, which is ridiculous in America. Which one of these presidential candidates will answer to that, stick to it, and really make the change? That's who will be the next president. I take that back. That's who would get the black vote. That's who would get. Don't just throw your vote away and get nothing for it. You just getting biting in, because you think he can beat Trump, but yet your son's getting their ass kicked by police. Ain't nothing you can do about it. But you threw your vote away. Don't be that person. Don't be that voter. Vote your conscience, and that's your conscience. Your conscience is freedom, justice, and equality. Your conscience is safety. Vote your conscience. Vote your best self-interest. Be wise about this thing. The audacity, though. The audacity of the NYPD to beat up a black man during presidential campaign season, during the election season. What the hell? That's like saying, look here, it don't matter who gets in the White House because they're not going to be for you black people in America. We still going to be able to beat y'all ass because nobody's going to address your issues. Not one of them. So you going to give them your vote anyway. It don't matter. You just vote because you was denied the right to vote, and you just happy to vote, be able to vote, to say, oh, look, I did something. I voted. White folks said I couldn't vote. We fought and got dogs and water hose sprayed up on us. Now I can vote, and here go my vote. And it's like, okay, well, what you getting for your vote? What you mean what I'm getting for my vote? I'm showing white folk that I can vote. That's asinine. What agenda? This is an agenda that's presenting itself right during the presidential election, right before November, popped up. And where is the candidate speaking out on the police brutality and what they're going to do to stop it? I mean, their point program. We're going to do A, B, C, and D. And the reason why you're doing it and the reason why you should do it is because you understand that these are citizens, tax-paying citizens, who should be allowed to walk home without being harassed by the officers who are being paid by the citizens' tax dollars. I mean, that's so simple. But it's ridiculous on what's going on. Verl Pick Radio, we're out.